Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Brushback Baseball Podcast for episode number 12. And today we have a very special guest. I know we had a very special guest last week, but this one is even more dear to my heart because this is one of my good buddies. And so with us today, we have Robbie Robinson. And he is going to be this year the AAA assistant coach with the Rochester. What's their team name, Robbie?
Red Wings.
The Red Wings. So, yeah, Robbie's a good buddy of mine. He got me my first coaching job in the Northwoods League in Battle Creek. And so, part of the reason why we wanted you on the show here is when I was looking up some of your kind of just bio last night, dude, you were all over the place. You've kind of touched every part of baseball I think that you can. So, and I'm going to read off a couple just for everybody to kind of hear. And if I butcher it, I'm sorry. You'll have to correct me. But so you grew up in Brea in South Orange County, and you went and played at Valparaiso. From there, you went and played a season or two in indie ball. And then from there, you coached and were also a bullpen catcher for Missouri State, which you then also, with that being in Springfield, Missouri, ended up being the bullpen coach for the Springfield Cardinals, which is where I ended up meeting you when I played in AA. And you were kind of groomed by Mike Shildt, who is obviously the big league manager for the Cardinals now. And from there, part of the time you were an Orioles scout and you were a coach at Riverside Community College. And then during those summers, during the off season, you were the field manager for 2 years with the Battle Creek Bombers, which, as I mentioned before, is where we coached together in the Northwoods League. And then I think you were an assistant coach / trainer for Point Loma Nazarene in San Diego.
Uh-huh.
From there, you went to the DSL Twins in the Dominican Summer League, and that's where you became your first affiliate job with the Twins. And you've been promoted to the Gulf Coast League Twins, and then now are with AAA. How did I do?
Pretty good. Yeah, a couple schools here and there, but yeah.
Besides Brea being in South Orange County.
Oh yeah, sorry, North Orange County.
Yeah.
I'm so used to saying North or South Orange County.
Yeah, North Orange County.
So
it's fine.
We'll get him a geography lesson, but he did pretty good though.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Obviously, you've been all over the place, so I think you're a really great person to kind of get your perspective on, what you're taking, what you've seen at every single level across baseball that you've been at. So yeah, I don't know if you want to just kind of give us a little bit more detail what you've seen. So, let us know.
I first off, guys, thank you very much for having me on here. I'm very grateful for the opportunity. But without my grandparents, they're the ones who raised me, and they took me in at a really young age. Without them, I wouldn't be where I'm at right now. So, they're really the foundation of my coaching career and where I'm at and all of that. And just thankful for them of what they've done in my life. But yeah, I grew up in Orange County, went to junior college, also there in Irvine, transferred to Valpo, all the things, ran into some like great human beings. The indie ball circuit, I met Dom Johnson down in San Diego, trained with him. I actually went from being a catcher to a pitcher, and that's how I made some connections there, and eventually came down the line to scouting with the Orioles at that location. But from Missouri State doing grad school, and then also double dipping doing the St. Louis Cardinals bullpen catching gig, meeting Shildt. I mean, all of it has really played a huge factor into my beliefs and where I'm at today. And the Twins being an amazing organization that they are, and diving into, 3 years with them, and just very grateful for all the opportunity because it shaped who I am right now. But yeah, excited, man. And very grateful for everywhere I've been. It's for every coach that's out there too. It's not just like, hey, like, you get here, you get there. There's things you got to do. And I was also looking at last night, I was thinking about all the odd end jobs I had to work throughout it. I worked for Uber, I worked for Uber Eats, I worked for a gym, like you said, as a personal trainer while at Point Loma Nazarene. I had my own dog walking business at one point where just like trying to make ends meet.
That's
right?
awesome.
And I didn't really realize that till I was thinking about it. And so here now, third year with the Twins, and great experiences there, and living outside the country, being back here, and ready for things to get going again whenever we can get back out to what this season looks like.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's pretty crazy when you look back and see how many people or people you would have never met before in all the different places you play, or the different random cities that we end up playing in, the connections you end up making, and how it ends up affecting your future. You know, I mean, like you said, you had connections that probably helped leverage you into other jobs if you didn't take, you know, certain things, like, you know, you go into maybe a not as glamorous job or something, but you know, it's pretty cool to see that kind of build into where you're at now with AAA with the Twins. So I wanted to ask you, when did you kind of know that you wanted to go down the coaching route? Where in your playing career did you kind of feel like that was where you were being called to?
So right when I finished college, I didn't get drafted, and it was like, oh man, the world ended right then and there. It's like, what's going on? You know, you do these questionnaires, you do these pre-draft workouts.
Yeah.
You're sitting there watching the ticker go by, and like, didn't happen. So, like I said, you know, a couple years of doing workouts with indie ball teams, met Dom Johnson, sent me out to a couple teams to work out with. And I found myself in St. Louis, Missouri, and did a workout with the team, and just came to a realization, like, I'm done. Like, I'm going to move on from this, like, and it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
Connected with Keith Gutton at Missouri State, who's arguably one of the best college coaches out there in the nation. And the next day he's like, hey, like, come on down, let's talk. So I packed all my stuff up in my car and drove down, met with him. He's like, hey man, you know, we got a GA position. And the mindset shifted then of like, okay, like, what do I wanted to be a high school head coach. And that's where I thought what I wanted to do. And obviously it changed.
Yeah.
I didn't really dive into the coaching scene, like where I was like, man, you know, this is what I really, really want to do, until I got to Riverside City College with Dennis Rogers. And that man is really what changed the whole thing for me.
What about it?
Attention to detail, how to communicate with the players, the passion, and going into the stories of him learning from Scalinas over at Cal Poly, and just realizing how invested he is. And not only, he's so selfless, right? Like, it's like, if you've ever talked to anybody who's been at Riverside, it's like, what a legend, what a great human being. You really have to be there to experience it on a day-to-day basis to see what this guy does. But it's what he brings daily is just magic. And that was like, oh man, like, this is it. This is what I want to do. Like, yeah. I want to be as close to that as possible and bring it every day. And from then on, it was like, game on, let's go.
You know, it's funny you mentioned like what he brought every day to the table, and it reminded me of exactly who I played for, who you coached with Mike Shildt. And I know you were really close to him that whole time you were there. You were always, we'd be in the dugout, and Rob was literally right next to Shildt for almost, I mean, as much as you could, because you were also catching too. But if you weren't down there, you were right next to Mike Shildt, just kind of picking his brain. But he was a guy who kind of similarly did that. I mean, his the amount of preparation that he brought every day,
for sure.
And you see him now, it's amazing. But those type of qualities obviously seem to breed success for coaching. You know,
was Shildt the guy with the yellow notepad or the notepad?
Yeah. Yellow pad.
Yellow pad.
Or we call it Jello pad. I had mentioned on a previous episode, Rob. I was telling him about Shildt and how it was as a player, and when we come out to yellow pad, and how as a player we were almost kind of held accountable for what happened that previous day, and if we had a mental error, that's our time to bring out and talk about it. And, we had some time to reflect and kind of let it go and decompress a little bit. But that yellow pad time, I think, was a great time because obviously Shildt would have those things written down on his yellow pad. And those were the ways that you got better as a player. And we kind of held ourselves accountable, but I thought it was a great move as a manager. He just kind of gave us free reign to talk about it. And if it didn't get brought up, he would bring it up. But for the most part, I mean,
for sure.
But yeah, I just thought, I thought that was very similar of Mike Shildt and what I saw.
For sure. Yeah, no. And the day-to-day being around Mike Shildt as well is like another guy who definitely shaped it. They're so similar in the things that they do. It's really, you have to be around them like you've been around Mike, to see what they do and how much attention to detail they put into the day-to-day.
It was actually it was eye-opening for me when I played for him. And I think it was probably similar for you. And I know I said the amount of preparation, but I almost felt like he knew exactly what to do before. It's like he was thinking 2 or 3 steps down, 2 or 3 moves ahead. I mean, he knew who wasn't feeling well on the other team and who wasn't going to be, I mean, he just kind of knew all those small little details. And if this, the certain unexpected things happen, where he was going to go, such a chess type of mentality. He was that type of, I had never seen that before. And so as a player, it made me have to think a little bit more, so
for sure.
But it was one of those things. Cause I always said, as a player, you grow up and you're kind of like, coaching's easy, man. You just go and, you go and you write your lineup, you hit ground balls, you throw BP, but there's so much more that goes into it, to be successful and to put your players in the best situation. So it's something you actively have to manage. I realized that when I coached with you as well. Just kind of seeing that too, from a coach's perspective, it's eye opening, at least was for me.
Yeah. Yeah. And kind of, from the lower levels on up, it's the more attention to detail that you really need to be, whether it's, honing in on your nutrition, to your workout plans, to your sleep, to, how you go about just your scheduling of your day. All those things start to play a major factor the higher up you get. And what you realize is like the really, really good guys. I was very fortunate this year to go to big league spring training for the first time and watch the day-to-day of what those guys do. They have their schedules set. They know what they need to do, but they're in there, they're grinding, and these are guys that are like, Nelson Cruz, Josh Donaldson, first guys in the cages, guys that are always in the weight room, having their own meals prepped for them. It's amazing, but they know what they need to do to stay at that elite level. Yeah.
I gotta ask for you as like somebody who's you're working your way closer to the big leagues, and like you said, it's your first big league spring training as a coach. How is it kind of trying to work your way in with some of these veterans and talk to them, and guys who know their routines, like you said, they know themselves, they know their body, but where you might be able to assist them or help them or something? Is that kind of intimidating as just more of like a newer coach? And
it really wasn't. I mentally, what I do is I drive out to spring training from Arizona, and I mentally prepare myself.
Yeah, and you're in Florida, with the Twins.
In Florida, yeah. So mentally prepare myself just for the day-to-day, the grind, and I came in just feeling very prepared and not intimidated at all. And we have such a great group of guys that were just welcoming, and we had just like a ton of fun things, not only on the field, but off the field, set up to bond and get to know each other. And felt very comfortable with this spring training. Just anything that they needed, really, early work, whatever they needed. And primarily I was working with the catchers. I was just there to assist with them and help them out this year.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I was going to ask you, so you obviously went to the Twins, 3 years ago? And But the last time that I think I had seen you, you were kind of going, I think you were leaning more towards that college. You wanted to coach in college. I think at least that's where you were kind of headed. At least everybody that we were coaching with with the Bombers at the time, everybody seemed to be heading towards, being a college coach. But did you kind of lean towards more of like, oh, I want to be more, was there a point where you were like, I want to go towards pro ball, or was it more of just the opportunity that kind of presented itself?
The opportunity, for sure. Had a chance to interview with the Twins, and the process was a little long. Filled out some questionnaires and essays, and had about 5 phone interviews, and flown out to Minnesota. And throughout the whole process was a couple months, and had discussions with my wife about if this is really what we see as a family, if this is what we want to do. And it was God's plan for us to be where we were, and the opportunity was there. So again, very fortunate.
And that was going straight to the Dominican, right? That first job was at the Dominican, right?
Yeah, it was about December when they were like, hey, our plan is to send you to the Dominican Republic and run that academy down there starting in January. And we're like, great. Like, my wife is working remote. Like, she can come and visit.
Yeah.
Well, come to find out, like 2 weeks later, we found out we're pregnant with our
okay,
Ellie.
Yeah.
And that's our daughter.
Right.
And she's 18 months old. So then she couldn't come down there because she was pregnant the whole time. So I was down in the Dominican Republic for 9 months, and tremendous experience. Like, definitely wouldn't trade it for anything. And the culture, the drive of the players.
I mean, you're working with a lot of younger, like the just signed, like the 16-year-olds.
Yeah, 50. I think 15 and a half, somewhere in there is like when we bring them in. And then 16s when they sign. So they like actually live at the academy and do stuff and do workouts with us. And there's workouts going on like at least a couple times a week. They have, at our facility at least, we have everything there for them. Nobody lives off site. And we have our day-to-day is just it's baseball heaven.
Yeah.
Right. It's like, and you have like
20 baseball 24/7.
All they got to do is just do anything baseball all the time. Don't they have like funnels almost where these kids at like 12 start gearing up before they're 15, 16? You kind of know who's coming up. Did you ever see those kids when they were super, super young?
Yeah. I actually did a lot of traveling while I was there. I think I drove around the entire island. And there was, I think they're called Buscones, but they have little academies of kids, and they basically run them through workouts, and scouts would come and watch them and prepare them and be like, all right, like, this is the new group of guys. This is them coming through. And I think they're getting a little bit better with like the way they run those things, with like the education programs and whatnot that they have there, but feeding them and housing them. And it's a third world country, right? Like some of these kids are pretty fortunate to get those opportunities. And I mean, baseball is very, very a big part of their life there.
What's nutrition like down there? Because you kind of hit on nutrition.
Rice, beans, and chicken.
Much, right?
That is true. A lot. Plantains,
yeah.
A lot of fresh fruit, fish.
Better than McDonald's and Subway for the most part.
That's right.
That was our diet, man.
It was our diet. Got a little chunky there for a little bit.
Hey, it happens. I had to drop 30 pounds recently, so. But no, I mean, that was probably just such a crazy experience. I've never been to the Dominican, but I mean, I think probably kind of eye-opening too at the same time, just seeing like, I think it's just so crazy how talented these kids are coming out of these Latin American countries, for such a small island,
For sure.
It's pretty cool. You probably saw some very talented but very raw players.
Yeah, and I think like for the youth here too, that goes to show that like they over there, that's what they're ingrained, like that's the talk that they have from a very young age of like, hey, like professional baseball is an avenue to provide for your entire family, to make money and to do all these things for your country, and they have the mindset at a really young age of like, I'm gonna get after it, right? Like I'm gonna grind, and like they that's what they do, and they're taking jobs from Americans and other countries. Like this is a global thing, but like Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, Venezuela, like they're not messing around, man.
Yeah.
Do they work a lot harder, you think, than some of the American kids overall? You see?
I mean, I think that it's the mentality.
I think they have to, with where they're at and what they're, what's at their disposal.
To see like where they grew up, and for the most part, like some of them aren't, for the most part, like you want to get out of that and provide for your family. If you're living under this little shack and don't have food on the table every night, like, yep, like this is an avenue for me to make a change here. That's gonna put a little fire under your butt real quick.
Not only that, for the guys that actually do make it, once they come and playing in a foreign country for them where they don't speak the language, and then having success with all of that, being away from their family at such young ages. I mean, you're right. They do have to be kind of groomed for it in order to be successful. It's not easy.
Mm-hmm.
I think if it was flipped, a lot of the American guys, wouldn't be as successful if they're in that exact same situation if it was flipped at young ages. But go ahead.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, how do you communicate it to some of your more American kids what you saw 3 years ago with Dominican kids about what it takes and who's coming after your job, from afar?
Yeah, I mean, just like giving the examples of like what I've seen and what I've witnessed, and they see the work ethic when they come over to the United States as well, and they see we're pretty fortunate as an organization. We get to send some players down to the Dominican. They get to experience it. They get to be down there and do some workouts. I think this last year was the first time we did that. So they're starting to see what it's like in the country and at the facility. We have one of the nicest facilities down there, but you go and visit these other facilities and you're like, oh my goodness, like there's really nothing here, just like 4 fields and let's go, like roll the balls out, here we go.
Yeah.
But they're starting to make some really good improvements overall as MLB is working to get better facilities down there for the guys. But similar talks, to answer your question, sorry I rambled off, of just the mentality, the drive. This is something they've had a dream of, as is American kids, but like I just don't think they're put in those situations of like this is a survival type of thing, and that's the way they're brought up.
It is. Yep.
Yeah.
Anybody that you saw 3 years ago that's probably at AA now that we should be looking out for, that you think is super talented? That
I mean, yes, there's guys. I'm not. They're still pretty. The guys that I had are still like rookie ball, low A type players. Sometimes it takes a couple years to get out of the Dominican. I would have a clearer answer for you. I mean, one guy that really stands out to me is Jesus Feliz, shortstop with us, should be, somewhere in that low A range. I think he's pretty talented. But I mean, yeah, I think there's a handful of guys that will be next couple of years, like really standing out.
Yeah. All right, let's move on. I wanted you to talk a little bit about your time as a scout with the Orioles.
Okay.
I know that is I've heard that can be a grind. when you're an area scout. I just want to hear a little bit about your perspective and how you liked it.
Yeah. So how I had that opportunity was, doing the workouts down in San Diego. Dom Johnson, I met a guy named Mark Ralston. He was the area scout for the Orioles down in Southern California. And basically when I got back to RCC, we met back up, and he's like, hey man, I have an opportunity for you to kind of branch under me and be a bird dog scout and go to places around Southern California that I can't be at, as things are going on. There's just so much baseball going on and down here. And gave me the opportunity to not only give him some insight of my thoughts and perspective on guys, but, brought me out to area codes, and we did some Cal League stuff together. And, it, in a nutshell, it was like, hey, like, if you see somebody that I didn't see, or if you're going to go somewhere, just let me know if I need to go have more eyes on them. And that's what it was for a couple of years of, finding these guys out in the desert, and hey, like, this guy's looking pretty good, checking in. It really tied in with me recruiting at Riverside City College, and me doing the scouting gig as well, and going to all these events in Southern California and just being out all the time. It was a daily thing of hitting the road and just trying to get eyes on as many guys as possible.
Yeah.
That
what were some things that you looked at for in learning to evaluate a player? I mean, when we first, after you brought me in as the coach for Battle Creek as the hitting coach, we went up to a couple of games together. We went and watched some of our players that were in college, or during their college season. We went up to Pepperdine and watched a couple. I think they were playing Santa Clara, and we had guys on both teams. Then we drove right down to LMU and watched like Brennan Lund, who's actually doing pretty well with the Angels. But I remember that was my first time even looking at, like, trying to evaluate a player. I'd never done that before. I hadn't been on that side, and it was kind of strange for me, but it was something I'm like, okay, well, shoot, what are some things to look for in trying to, I mean, obviously it's not a perfect science, and you could think somebody's going to be a great player and they could totally, I mean, it happens all the time, but what are some of the things that I'm sure you still use, some of those things in, like, evaluating guys? Yeah.
One of the big things that I really like to do is just get there early and see what their interaction was amongst teammates, seeing how they went about their day to day, seeing what were the first things that they gravitated towards when they started to get down the line and get into stretching and throwing. I mean, obviously you want to see arm strength, you want to see power, you want to see speed, you want to see all these things. But getting there early and getting a feel for, what type of person is this that is potentially going to be drafted? What are we getting ourselves into? And I think that's like a area that a lot of scouts are like struggling with, is like, what's the personality like? Because that's not something that you really get, because when you do at-home visits or you do these things, like, they're at their best behavior.
Exactly.
Right.
It's
like, oh yeah, like, oh, I'm so happy you're here. It's like, yeah, I know you're happy I'm here. Yeah. So trying to just be under the radar and watch and see what they do is really a big thing for me. If you can play the game, you can play the game, right? Like, and when you start to see guys play at a higher level and you start to see them against higher competition, that's why, like, those area code games are pretty cool to be at. Was like, you got some of the best competition all over the nation, and, like, you really get to see what he matches up against. Those were fun. But I mean, you want to get times, you want to get, one of the big things for me was just like hustling on and off the field, hustling down the line when the ball's hit. Are you playing baseball aggressively in the right way?
Yeah.
Are you here to play the right way?
And one of the things that I've touched on in previous episodes, because I mentioned that we have a lot of younger, high school, college age kids that are listening right now. one of the things that was always big for me and was how somebody responded with failure. For me, it was tough too. Sometimes, you're like, that scouts are at the game. You go and play at an area codes game or something, or you're at some showcase and you're in front of a bunch of scouts and you boot a ball or you're throwing away, or you strike out. I think those are the moments I think scouts are watching the most, trying to see how they're going to respond to failure, because that is ultimately what this game is about.
Yep. Without a doubt. And picking up those things throughout the games are really what you're looking for. This game is like you said, so filled with failure. It is what it is. Like, eventually you need to just like get over it and be able to like mentally grind through it, man. Like, if you can't deal with it, then there's going to be somebody else who's going to be able to. That's the beauty of the game. Okay. That's what makes it great, is that it's so hard, right? The round ball with the round bat, trying to hit it within these lines. If it gets to you, then like it gets to you, and like, I think we've been fortunate to meet, a mental skills coach, Ken Revisa, right?
Yep.
Like
we've talked about him before.
Like when it comes to the mental side of the game, like that's what it's about, right? If you're at an elite level, you can play there, but like you need to be able to flush that stuff.
Yep. Let's keep this going into the coaching side. So flip from the scouting to the coaching. How are you helping guys? I mean, there's obviously guys, you're going to deal with slumps. You're going to go through these patches where you're not seeing the ball well. You're not playing good defense. And as a coach, I mean, you have guys that are probably, how do you kind of gauge what to do with some guys, whether to talk to them, whether not to say anything? The guys obviously respond differently, and it takes a little bit to probably get to know each player.
Exactly. So everybody's different. That's the big thing with coaching, is that understanding that everybody's different, and you need to get to know your players on and off the field. The more you can relate to them, the better off you're going to be. And it's just picking up those little nuggets here and there of, how's your family doing? And what's going on here? And understanding all these things that go on into the life. It's not just about baseball, right? It's life. It's picking up those things and understanding, like, why is it not going well for you today? What's going on? And knowing when the right time is to get after him. That's more of the catching side of it, right? Like, when you go out and make that mound visit, and like, is it time to like kick him in the butt, or is it time to like give him a hug? You need to understand those moments as a coach, to really get after a guy, or to just like give him a big hug, man. Like, it's fine. Everything's going to be okay. But it comes down to just knowing your players. Know your players and get to know them over time. I think that's probably one of the biggest challenges to coaching but I think it's the most important thing, is getting to know the players. So, I know what I was going to say. So are you going to be working with mostly the catchers, or not mostly, but are you going to be working with catchers a lot still this year in AAA? So primarily it's catching. And we are fortunate enough to have another coach at pretty much every level to focus on the catching position. I'll be assisting with the hitting. I'll be assisting with our manager, Toby Gardenhire, with just the day-to-day, whatever he needs done.
I saw his Gardenhire's son is the manager. That's pretty cool. Is he a cool guy?
Yeah, he's awesome. Awesome dude. We actually lived in the same community last year when I was managing the GCL team, and he was managing our high A team. So they're both at Fort Myers. So we lived in the same community and been pretty close since day one of me being with the Twins, and he's been with them a little bit longer than I have. He's a player with the Twins, and awesome human being.
Cool.
He's family for the Twins, basically.
Yeah.
So I got a question, and I can't talk here. How's your batting practice?
Oh, BP's getting much better. Hey, and here's the thing is that I backed it up. Made it more game-like, and that's where the game's going. Okay, regular traditional BP.
Really?
Out.
See, I've been out. I've been out for a while now, and really,
I think the more game-like you can make it. So this is something that we do is the more game-like we can make it. The batting practice situation we really have made a focus of this the past couple of years. The more the guys are able to really translate that over to the game.
Is that something you guys have talked about as an organization?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
definitely. Making things more game-like overall in our training. And it's really been very beneficial as an organization. And I'm a big believer in it. In the GCL, we did this last year. I would throw live in front of the mound, 3-pitch mix, 2 times a week on field, and guys don't like it, but it's game like, right? Maybe not.
Were you getting pushback? Were you getting pushback from the players?
Yeah. Oh yeah, big pushback. Snapping bats,
No.
Just letting it eat though. It was great.
You're just wearing down their mentality before the game starts, man.
So there is that where you want like high mentality, good feel, and you also want to be able to get more game-like reps.
I agree.
You got to understand when's too much, right?
Yeah.
Like you got to find that happy medium for both. But it has been more emphasis on more game-like training.
Okay.
And I think that's a trend that should be happening, not only at our level but on down.
Okay. I was for all of you guys listening, just to give you a little background, and for David, I haven't told when I coached in Battle Creek with Rob, I was a terrible BP thrower. I just, for whatever reason, I could not throw batting practice. So thankfully we had 2 other assistants who are really good. And I will say, and Rob wasn't, you're probably a lot better now, but you probably weren't as good then. You were better than I was, but, so we had the other 2 coaches. They pretty much took all rounds of BP, and and Rob and I just got to watch.
Yeah,
you just started throwing
guys,
at everybody.
Sorry.
I was evaluating. Okay, I was watching swings.
Yeah, BP was a little rough in Battle Creek.
Yeah, there was a few times where one of our assistant coaches, his name's Jimmy Correnti, he's out in Florida. I think he's at Barry University. He's an assistant coach at Barry University. Awesome guy, and he threw really good BP. But I think he picked up a lot of my rounds that I couldn't throw. So by the end of the season, his arm was just he was hanging, and he was trying to grind through it, and. There was one time he just like, I can't do it anymore, dude. He's like, you're gonna have to try. And so like I went in there, and I think we were on the road in I think it was not Lakeshore. What was the other one in I think in Wisconsin.
The Rafters?
No, it was. I'm not gonna be able to think. It's not Lakeshore. It was the one where we played that really cold game.
The Woodchucks?
No. This is going to bug me. Okay. It's the one like right on the river. Anyways, but they had a really nice stadium. Lacrosse. Thank you. Yes, it was Lacrosse Loggers. And oh my gosh, I remember I started the round and we gave it extra. We started BP early, I think, because knowing I threw so many balls in between. And I started throwing all these balls, and I got so pissed that I was like, screw it. Grabbed the L screen, I pulled it out, and I just did front toss for BP for my round for the guys. Probably never seen that before. I know.
So bad.
Great.
Sorry. Actually, though, I will say I think I'm a lot better now because I throw to Carter so much. Now, it's not the same distance, but I think just from me throwing so much to him that I've gotten a lot better.
Good.
It's okay.
And he's making his comeback too.
Oh yes.
So if you had any instruction for a 30-year-old who's going to make their comeback as a knuckleballer, what would you tell him?
Is this true?
I'm about 85% on board with this.
It's true.
Yes, it's true. It's true. I got an agent lined up and everything. 2 episodes ago.
Perfect.
Check our 2 episodes ago. I just there was a huge announcement. I'm really surprised that you didn't get this, press release. But I hired an agent, and I'm making my comeback for 2021 spring training. So
the other 15% is he hasn't told his wife yet.
Yeah. Dude, I have a nasty knuckleball.
But he's 85% there.
Yeah, like I'm committed to going. I throw it every day.
You just need the opportunity.
Yeah, I know some people. Yeah. So if you want to talk to some of your guys with the Twins,
Is this why you had me on the show?
Yeah, dude. That's why I had my buddy who's an agent on the last one. He's gonna
come first.
Yep.
Full circle.
I'm always looking out for number one over here.
I got played.
Talk to the right people, and get an opportunity. So I'm just doing my
question.
That's right.
If you do that work yourself, why is your agent getting charged money? Why is he charging if
you're right? We haven't really nothing's been signed yet. So yeah, we don't have a dollar figure on it yet. I haven't put him to work yet. I don't want to look at contracts and stuff like that. So that's for him. When I actually have the contracts from everybody, so I'll get myself the opportunity. He just has to deal with the paperwork.
Robbie will get that Levine on.
Hey man, I got video. I'm gonna send you a video of me, and you can pass it on to whoever needs to see it.
Perfect. I appreciate it.
Kind of serious though, dude.
I can't wait to see the video.
Just, if it ends up in somebody's inbox, I won't be upset.
All right, we'll see.
So I was kind of curious with coronavirus and what's happening right now, what you guys are doing and saying to the minor leaguers in terms of being prepared and also not knowing, and the human aspect of what we have going on, what you guys have talked about within your org.
Yeah. So we had a organizational phone call a couple of days ago. Still the information that we get is the information that everybody gets from MLB. And we've sent everybody home. We want everyone to be as much as respectful about what's going on, and we know that there might be a ramp up coming soon. But our job right now is to stay in communication with guys and see if there's any needs that if they need anything from us. I know that there's like some small group guys doing things on their own to stay in shape and to be ready for if it is a shortened spring training, if it is we go to our affiliates and do whatever it is in small groups, whatever it may be. Like, we don't know, but it's all individual based, and basically right now it's just communication between the coaches and players of like what needs do you need and how can we help you. But not much here, man. Like, majority of us are just quarantined in the house and hanging out.
It's pretty crazy. You get a little extra family time, but it's pretty strange. And I guess baseball players are already used to being able to adapt on the fly and whatever's kind of thrown at them. So this is just another one of those things. At least if you're at baseball at this point, you're able to kind of roll with the punches. So doing the best we can, I guess.
It's going to be very interesting. I for the health of the players and everything, I just hope that guys are doing something within their realm of what they can do. Like, you're very limited, and you don't want to put anybody at risk or have anybody exposed. So all those factors coming in, it's like, I potentially have a season coming up, or I do have a season coming up here soon that I need to prepare for, but I don't have XYZ to help me with this. So it's just a really tricky situation, and just hope that everyone can get what they need to be prepared for what is to come. That's the unknown.
Yeah.
I was just, the minor leaguers are stuck in this thing where they have to be prepared for the season to come, but they also, for the most part, can't get a job or do anything else in the meantime. So
Mm-hmm.
they're really kind of,
Stuck
minor
in
leaguers
limbo.
have it tough. Like, yeah.
Yeah, because David had said, they can't file for unemployment because they're still under contract with the team. And so, I mean, and a lot of those guys haven't been paid since last season. Not that it's a lot anyways, but it's still pretty tough.
Yeah. One of the great things about the Twins is that they have continued to pay everybody through
That's awesome.
Spring training and through the year. And that is just one of the things that, I feel very fortunate and blessed with being with them, is that they're like, hey, like 100% we're going to back everybody and stay on board with everyone. We know this is a tough time. So for us as an organization to do that is like amazing. And I feel very fortunate to be in that situation. I don't know, for other organizations, what's going on. But for the Twins, ownership and everyone in the front office to make that happen is great.
Yeah. Tell you what, the Twins seem like a great organization, but man, they're going to be fun to watch whenever the season starts. That lineup is looking pretty good.
That major league
Yeah,
team
for
is going to be one of the top 5 offenses of all time. Honestly, they're just a murderer's row.
It's fun, man. It was a really, really fun spring training, and the energy coming off, like just in the clubhouse and coming out to the field every day has been unexplainable. It's like, wow, like this is sweet. It was really fun to be a part of.
Yeah,
an experience.
Were there any of those big league guys that you've worked with so far that just have kind of opened your eyes into something else?
I mean, Donaldson with his day-to-day.
I've heard his work ethic is crazy.
It is crazy. And then you pair it with, I think he's a little more on like the techie side. You pair it with Nelson Cruz, who is just the ultimate grinder and like is in there all the time doing stuff.
His season, how old is he? Or he put up one of his best seasons at age, what, is he 40 something?
I think maybe 41 this year.
Crazy.
So yeah, I mean, he's so like just such a great example for all the young guys that are in that clubhouse. Miguel Sano has really been just crushing it. Came in just like looking phenomenal. I was just blown away. I was like, man, like this is going to be great. Buxton, just being around him, and he brought his kid out to the ballpark like every day, and I just connected with him a little bit just on that.
That's awesome.
He's really a tremendous human being, and excited. Hopefully, just having a great year this year. And but yeah, it was a great spring training, and we'll kick it back off again here pretty soon.
Yeah, hopefully as soon as possible.
Yeah, for sure.
So
we'll see.
All right, man. Well, we'll let you go. We really appreciate you taking the time out to talk to us, and we hope you enjoy a little bit of the time with your family right now. But I hope you guys stay safe, and hopefully we're back at baseball pretty quickly.
Definitely. Stay in contact, and thank you guys for having me.
Will do.
Thank you.
Thanks, Robbie.
Yeah.
Thanks.